ODM will carry baggage of the UDA government in 2027. We cannot run away from that. That if the people will be campaigning against the government, they will lump us together. But I do not think that it is necessarily a bad thing to be lumped together, because in our support bases, we've seen radical changes in road, air networks. We've seen radical changes in food security, especially in Homa Bay. So a lot of the transformation of the rice plantations and reclamations.
Things you talk about are things that ought to be given to any Kenyan, not because apparently you joined the government, right?
Certainly. However, these things have not been given to these regions. And that's why I'm saying that it is not going to be a bad thing. Because post-independence, we've not had a president who's invested that greatly in the penetration of road networks or development. Despite the fact that we've had governments, nobody has invested in the north as this president has. So, and that's why it would be like, if you would beat us in this, in a particular area, we would just look at, the people are content with the track record. Because remember, ODM has consistently been a party of the opposition. You would expect that all its members, all our members would be uncomfortable that we joined government. But we have almost all our bases agreeing that, we ought to give the president a second term. And if, for example, we're going to a presidential election, I was listening to Mheshimiwa Sifuna yesterday. You have the popularity, but I've not seen the solid ideas of governance, for example. If you ask about an economic agenda, and he says that he will ask the experts, at the very least, we should be able to see this is what, because, for example, President Ruto, he had the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We knew that Baba was more of a welfareist. What, for example, economic policy are we seeing? He seems to be more focused on, for example, human rights, which is a great thing. But that's also what we are focused on, because we have been very heavy on the compensation. And I've been saying this, that especially the Luo faction of ODM, it knows what to do. It seems as though the perception I'm seeing is the only valuable Luo body is a dead one, in the sense that we become heroes after our death. That's why everybody wants to invoke Tom Mboya, for example. But when he was alive, Oko, and Baba most recently, because he was a statesman, and we keep on saying that he did a great thing, a bad, horrible thing to leave us. But when he asked us for the vote, we couldn't give it to him. And even in the reason I'm extrapolating this is, people like William Ruto, they invoke their heroes. He wants to be called Koitalel Arab Samoei, so he stops calling himself Kipchirchir, he calls himself Samoei, invoking his ancestors. Gachagua, consistently talking about Mau Mau. You would expect someone like Sifuna saying that I am awakening the spirit of Kijana wa Malwa. I'm okay, but everybody now wants to.
Why though?
I just think the cultural totems, we must, at the very least, not have to suffer the erasure of thinking that. I can't say that I'm Malcolm X, or I can't say that I'm Winston Churchill.
You can say that you're Kasmuel. Edwin Sifuna can say, I am Edwin Sifuna,
yes,
as he has said.
But none of the things that we feel are being forced, and this is why I'm having it in an ODM context, is they're saying that this is the invocation of Baba's spirits. But I keep on saying that Baba worked with very many generals who have stayed in one camp. It is unfair that, say, because somebody is speaking a different tune, that then is the spirit of Baba. However, if you're to think about it, these are people who, if they were very convicted in their ways, they would have done the honorable thing, which I've said repeatedly, which is resign from the party and seek a fresh mandate. They have the popularity. We have the time and the resources and the systems in place. Baba did this under very, very difficult circumstances where he had faced arrest, but he still resigned when he said, I disagree with Ford, I disagree with Kanu, I am resigning and going to seek a fresh mandate. None of these politicians are willing to do that. And that's why I keep on saying that they are paper tigers, because if you truly are, if you truly believe in that and you're convicted in your ways, you should have done things procedurally.
So what happens? I mean, because what you can do is that you can speculate. Yeah. What happens in the event that this is not just, burning paper in the wind?
And the eventuality is? And
the popularity is not just at face value, but that it is true, and that Kenyans are looking for something different.
And if this, for example, will this deliver better governance and better service delivery to the people.
No, what happens to the position that ODM, for example, takes right now, where it's seen that, perhaps this popularity has waned and on this side, but that it has grown on the other?
I'm not here to contest Sifuna's popularity. I actually say that he is actually quite popular, but it does not phase us. Popularity doesn't phase us.
So what you're saying is that it doesn't phase ODM.
It doesn't phase us, because we've seen popular candidates before. We've seen Peter Kenneth, who made social media ungovernable in his time. He got 79,000 votes at the presidential level. It's popularity hasn't. I don't think it's a thing that would phase us. Or the ODM is committed to a meticulous, and it's drudging, very mechanical but very, very meticulous sense of structure to the grassroots level. So these meetings that a lot of people are taking for granted, you see that the party leader, for example, yesterday met leaders from Baringo, they met leaders from that grassroots network is watered and kept alive every single day. So for us, it's not about who's popular and who's not, it's just about consolidating the gains that we've amassed and trying to see if we can gain new ground.
Very many candidates many names have been propped up for those who then want to become the deputy president, who want to be William Ruto's running mate. And with that, then we just have to go back to 2022, how that happened under UDA. There were interviews, and then President Ruto settled for Rigathi Gachagua. Now, with the Oparanya being mentioned, we have Ajoho being mentioned, and many other, including Governor Wanga. And there are as well Kithure Kindiki. What process then is ODM willing to be subjected to? Because then ODM is not coming in, it is coming in as a party. It is not coming in as UDA, because remember, that is a process that took place within UDA itself. In this case, how is ODM willing to go around it with others, including those within UDA? Will they also go through interviews, or they will come with a candidate? This is the person who's settled down for.
It's the reason why we might walk around with a bit of braggadocio is because we know we in comparison to our partners, and not to look down on anybody, in relation to our partners, we have a force measure in terms of numbers, and the whole